The cortisol hits your bloodstream exactly zero point 0.4 seconds before your conscious mind realizes what has happened. It is a chemical flood, ancient and unforgiving. Your vision tunnels. Your extremities go cold as blood rushes to your vital organs, preparing for a threat that does not exist in the physical world. You haven't seen a predator. You haven't stepped off a cliff. You have simply failed. Maybe you stuttered during a presentation. Maybe the number in your bank account dropped below a threshold you swore you'd never breach. Maybe you were rejected. The biological response is indistinguishable from the fear of death. To the primitive architecture of your brain, social exile is death. To be a loser is to be left behind by the tribe to freeze on the tundra. And this terror, this desperate, clawing need to avoid the label of the loser, is precisely why you are paralyzed. It is the cage you have built, bar by bar, from the moment you learn to seek approval. But there is a glitch in the human operating system, a back door that 99% of the population walks past every single day, blind to its existence. There is a psychological state where the fear of losing vanishes, not because you have won, but because you have already lost. Imagine a man who walks into a casino, puts his life savings on red, and doesn't care if the ball lands on black. Imagine a fighter who steps into the ring hoping to get hit. Imagine a negotiator who walks into the boardroom fully prepared, even eager to be fired. This man is dangerous. He is untouchable. He cannot be leveraged, he cannot be bullied, and he cannot be controlled. He has deployed the most counterintuitive psychological weapon in history. We call it the loser strategy. To understand it, we have to strip away the veneer of your ego. We have to look at the machinery underneath. Most people operate on the strategy of more status, more security, more applause. It is a strategy of accumulation. You build a tower of identity, your job title, your car, your subscriber count, your relationship status. And the higher you build this tower, the more terrified you become of the wind. You become fragile. You become risk-averse. You spend all your energy defending the perimeter, terrified that someone will find out you are an imposter. You become a slave to the maintenance of your own self-image. The loser strategy is the strategy of zero. It is the deliberate, clinical practice of burning the tower down before anyone else can. It begins with a concept the Stoics whispered about in the marble halls of Rome, but they didn't frame it as self-help. They framed it as psychological armor. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. But in the modern clinical sense, we call it catastrophic immersion. The brain cannot distinguish between a vivid visualization and reality. If you close your eyes and truly visualize biting into a lemon, the acid hitting the tongue, the salivary glands cramping, your mouth will water. The body responds to the hallucination. The loser strategy weaponizes this mechanism. Step 1 involves the simulation of total collapse. You do not push the thought of failure away. You invite it in. You sit in a dark room and you visualize the worst-case scenario, not as a fleeting thought, but as a movie in high definition. You see the email firing you. You see the bank foreclosure notice. You hear the laughter of your peers. You feel the shame burning your cheeks. You sit in that fire. You let the cortisol spike. You let the heart race. And then you stay there. You stay in the ashes of your simulated life until the heart rate slows, until the breathing steadies, until the brain realizes, I am still breathing. The sun will still rise. I am not dead. You desensitize the amygdala to the concept of being a loser. When you do this, something terrifying happens to your psychology. The leverage the world holds over you evaporates. Your body.
Society cannot threaten you with poverty if you have already mentally lived in a cardboard box and found peace there. A romantic partner cannot threaten you with abandonment if you have already visualized solitude and found strength in it. Society cannot threaten you with irrelevance if you have already accepted that you are dust. This is the paradox. The man who is willing to lose everything is the only one capable of winning anything. Look at history's most effective operators. They share a specific pathology, a lack of regard for social preservation. Diogenes the Cynic. He lived in a ceramic jar on the streets of Athens. He owned nothing. He begged for food. He urinated in public. He was, by all societal metrics, the ultimate loser, a vagrant, a madman. Yet when Alexander the Great, the most powerful man in the known world, stood over him and asked, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Diogenes didn't ask for gold. He didn't ask for a position in the court. He looked up, squinting, and said, "Yes, move. You are blocking my sunlight." Alexander reportedly walked away and told his generals, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Why? Because Alexander was a slave to his empire. He had everything to lose. Diogenes had nothing. In that interaction, the homeless man held more power than the king of kings. This is the loser strategy in its rawest form. It is the understanding that status is a hallucination. The modern mind is sick with main character syndrome. You believe everyone is watching you. You believe your failures are headline news. This is the spotlight effect, a cognitive bias where we overestimate the degree to which others notice our actions. The reality is colder and much more liberating. No one cares. You are a ghost in the background of everyone else's movie. If you trip and fall, they might laugh for 3 seconds, but then they go back to thinking about their own debt, their own insecurity, their own dinner. The loser strategy embraces this insignificance. It leans into the void. When you adopt the persona of the loser, when you stop trying to impress, stop trying to optimize, stop trying to signal virtue, you enter a state of flow known as Wu Wei in Taoist philosophy, effortless action. Think of the person trying too hard on a date. Their laughter is forced. Their posture is rigid. They are sweating. They reek of desperation. They are trying to win the interaction. And because they are trying to win, they lose. Now think of the person who doesn't care if the date goes well. They are relaxed. They are authentic. They say what they think. They are magnetic. By being willing to lose the girl, they get the girl. By being willing to walk away from the negotiation, you control the deal. By being willing to be ridiculed for a creative idea, you innovate. But how do you apply this? How do you move this from philosophy to pathology? You must practice voluntary discomfort. You must microdose humiliation. Wear clothes that don't match. Lie down on the floor in a crowded coffee shop for 10 seconds. Then get up and order a drink without explaining yourself. Ask for a discount you know you won't get. You are training your nervous system. You are teaching your brain that social rejection is not a physical threat. You are building a callus over your ego. Most people are driving through life with the parking brake on. That brake is the fear of looking stupid. The loser strategy is simply releasing the brake. We live in an era of curated perfection. Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, these are factories of insecurity. They are designed to show you only the highlight reels of the top 1%. They are designed to make you feel like a loser so that you will buy things to prove you are a winner. The system relies on your insecurity. The economy runs on your fear of inadequacy. To embrace the loser strategy is an act of rebellion. It is to look at the algorithm and say, "I do not compete." When you stop competing for status, you can finally start working for mastery. You stop writing the book to get on the bestseller list, and you start writing the book because the truth needs to be told. You stop starting the business to buy a Ferrari, and you start the business because you want to solve a problem. And ironically, because your work is now pure, because it is stripped of the desperate stink of ego validation, it becomes better. It becomes undeniable. You win by default. There is a dark comfort in hitting rock bottom. The fall is terrifying, yes. The wind screams in your ears, but the impact is solid ground. You can build on solid ground. You cannot build in the free fall of anxiety. Seneca said, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a man who is alive." We can adapt this. He who fears being a loser will never do anything worthy of a winner. So let us conduct a final mental autopsy. Strip away your title. Strip away your bank balance. Strip away the compliments you've hoarded. Imagine right now that you are the failure you fear most. Imagine you are the cautionary tale. Sit in that darkness. Feel the silence of the room. Do you see it? You are still here. Your heart is still beating. The mind is still capable of thought. The world did not end. You are free. The cage was never locked. You were just leaning against the door. Walk out.